Welcome, everyone, to Entrepreneur Stories. Thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you, Beth, for being a guest tonight. No amount of dieting, exercise, or pills can give you the body you want if you don't know what's going on with your hormones, gut, and metabolism. I'm here to change that. It's an amazing quote from your website that I picked up. What are most of the women you work with looking for when they get in touch with you?
So that quote, that was me 15 years ago. That was kind of where I started from. And I think I was looking for a solution for that never-ending up and down yo-yo dieting, trying to feel healthy in a sustainable fashion. And I would say that's probably what most of the women come to me for. They're fed up of being sold a quick fix or a fad diet or feeling like it's a struggle. And they don't just want to look good and feel good. They want it to be long-term. They want it to be sustainable, and they want it to be something that they can live their life with.
Okay, so you went through a journey yourself. Maybe tell us a little bit about your journey from the start, your corporate career, and then how you got into what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I, from a very young age, decided in my sort of very Beth fashion that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I have no idea why. I think if I'm being honest, I watched one too many episodes of LA Law or LA McBeal, but I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. And so that was kind of my trajectory. And I found myself at university and I was studying law. And mum and dad said, and the irony does not escape me, if you want beer money, Beth, you're going to have to earn it yourself. So I trained to be a personal trainer, and I was doing that part-time at the same time as doing law. And that kind of duality continued throughout my career. I moved to London. I was working as a corporate in-house banking lawyer, and I was maintaining this health job on the side. I think in many ways that's what kept me sane for a long time, because it gave me some balance. I was moving, I was breathing, I was exercising when all the other corporate lawyers were there till 3 a.m. But ultimately, it was also my downfall, because once I moved from London to Hong Kong, it's much more convenient here. We can do many more things. So I was working for a US investment bank. I was doing late night evening calls till 10, 11, 12 o'clock every night. And then I'd get up at 5 a.m. to go and teach a class, the pure spinning class, which, some of you might remember. And I thought I was winning. I was training, I was working, I was, had this amazing social life every weekend at Lan Kwai Fong, and 5 years of that, and my health was definitely in the toilet. And I think that was my eureka moment when I realized that you can't just, when you want to get fitter or healthier, you can't just turn the dial up. You can't do more exercise. You can't, eat less. You can't move more, do more. And that was kind of when I started to realize that health was much more than just doing a lot of everything.
So how many years were you in corporate?
25 years.
25 years. And
Don't age me.
in terms of sort of preparing yourself for what you're doing now,
Yeah.
and maybe even talking about, you mentioned to me when we caught up about hitting a low point. What did that look like? What did the journey back look like for you?
Yeah.
And what have you sort of done to put yourself in a position to help other women who are maybe in a similar place to what you were several years ago?
So that moment when my health was at rock bottom, and I think we've all been there at some point in our life where we know something has to change. And for me, I had to change my environment. So I left the US investment bank. I stayed within banking, but I went to a Swiss private bank, and the Swiss are much more civilized. There were no late night calls. My working hours reduced, and I was able to bring some kind of semblance of balance, as much as that's possible in Hong Kong, to my life. And I think that's something that I try and educate the women that I work with. It's like creating those boundaries, whether it be within the workspace or the home space, to allow you to prioritize your own health. So that was probably my first sort of wake-up call. And I think when you do everything wrong yourself, you don't want other people to go through it. Like, I've made every mistake under the sun. There's not a diet I haven't tried. There's not a Hail Mary I haven't said. I've done everything. And then worked out what I really needed to do, which really is very boring, but it's a healthy, balanced, optimized life. And I teach the women that I work with how to do that.
You spent a lot of time, though, getting qualifications as well, because when I look through your website, it's more than just leaning on your personal experiences and your fitness. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. That is, I come from a lifelong love of learning. That
Okay.
is who I am as a person. But that was the only way I worked out what to do for myself in that low point, because the magazines weren't helping me, the doctors weren't helping me, my guesses weren't helping me. So I looked at what the research said, I looked at what science said, I looked at people who had achieved their goal, what did they do? And I worked out what the best approach was for me. And I think that's something that we often miss. We're often looking for a quick fix. We're often looking for an answer. We're looking to one of our favorite influencers, like what are they doing? But you have to look at you. You have to look at your lifestyle, your medical history, your health history, your training history, your family history, and work out a plan that works for you, but also is sustainable.
So I was looking at some, I'm going to read you some of these reviews from your website. As a working mum, I don't have time to figure this out solo. Beth is a pocket rocket of knowledge and positivity. She's changed my outlook and my abs. I got the result I wanted and more. Beth has truly changed my life. She makes you feel like you're her only client with the amount of time and care she dedicates to you. Not only do you gain a coach, but you gain a best friend. She had faith in me when I didn't. How do those make you feel?
Like I'm doing what I was meant to do, like I'm living my purpose, that I am helping women that need help. And we all do. We generally do not have the support that we deserve within the sort of the health infrastructure, within life, within society. And I think that's starting to change. And the fact that my experiences and my knowledge and my passion can help other women makes me really happy.
There's the thing that struck me when I looked through your website and after we were introduced is that there's an intentionality and a real sort of clarity of purpose that shines through. Where does that come from?
I think it goes back to not wanting everyone to make the same mistakes that I did.
Yeah.
Like if you know what doesn't work, if you know what does work, you want to help your neighbor to do that. And I think, there's a lot of information that's out there that's misinformation, and there's not a lot of the good information that's out there. And I think anything I can do to put that out is a good thing. And I think what we all need to become is detectives as well. Like we need to critically look at the information that's presented to us, like not just take it as read. So even now, like I read the latest research and I'm like, well, okay, that's what the research says. But, what do I see in my practical life? What do I see with the women that I train? What do I see in my own body? Like, does it work? Does it not work? Is it long term? Is it sustainable? So kind of be a detective and be critical and keep asking questions.
And it's not one size fits all.
It is definitely not one size fits all.
Okay. So let's dive into how you transform the health, physicality, and lives of your clients. What's the journey that you take a client on? And maybe you could give us an example of someone who was really struggling and the journey you went on to get them back to where they wanted to be.
I love that you use the word journey. When I'm working with someone, I often use the analogy of a health sat nav. Like, how do you get to your end destination? Well, you need to know in a sat nav, like your starting point and your end point. And your journey, your sat nav might take you on lots of different roads. Some might end up being closed, some might be bumpy, some might take you straight to where you want to get. And that's what it's like when you're working with someone on their health journey. Like, you've got to know where they start, their starting point, their beginning health. Do they sleep? Are they stressed? Do they eat well? Like, where do we start today? And then where do they want to be in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months or 10 years? And that's pretty much my beginning point. And then I get to know my clients inside out, like inside out and back to front. I want to know health history, medical history, training history, diet history, life history, partner history, what might derail them, what will motivate them. And that's pretty much the structure that I use for any single person that works with me. And it's hard to give an example of like one single person because everyone is so different. I'd love to share that in this last 3 months, I've been working with a few women that have had fertility issues. They've been doing IVF for 4 years, a couple of them. and all 3 of them are currently pregnant right now.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And
It's
and
amazing.
I'm not saying it's what I did,
Yeah.
but what we did was we looked at their basic health, their sleep, their stress management, their nutrition. And I think sometimes the simplest things can make the biggest changes when you're consistent, and, small things lead to big changes.
And you work with a doctor very closely here,
I
right?
do, yeah.
So
I
what
do.
what does that look like for your clients, and how does that sort of help you to, I guess, chart the program that you put together for a client?
Yeah. I don't work just with one doctor, because I feel that, again, everyone's an individual, not this
Mhm.
particular doctor
Mhm.
might work for every single lady. So I work with a number of different, all female doctors, but not selectively so. It just so happens they who are very well educated in the know and up to speed with menopause health,
Mhm.
which is the majority of the women that I'm working with, or hormonal health. But there's one lady in particular, Dr. Lorena Law, who I do a lot of work with. We created a menopause program. And what I find is, with the relationships I have with these practitioners, and it's not just medical practitioners, it's other health practitioners, you kind of create this referral. I don't want to say scheme because it makes it sound like we're trying to optimize each other.
Mm.
But I know there are some doctors who might work better for someone else. There might be someone that has more experience for someone else. You create this expert network. And I think that's really important, because
Yeah.
that expert network are filled with people that you trust, that you value, that you know are credible, and they know their stuff.
And it's the blood work that you're looking for, right?
It's
It's
everything. And
everything. Okay.
blood work is just like one piece that I
Okay.
look at. And I know we're going to talk about menopause. So that's like a perfect example where blood work will probably tell you not what's going on.
Okay.
So you can do a female's blood work. You can test their hormones, their sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone.
Mhm.
And that fluctuates not just throughout the month, but on a daily basis. So depending on the day on which you test, it might give you the result that you want. It might give you the result that you don't want, and it might give you a result that doesn't represent where you are in your health journey at all. So blood work is a piece of it. Symptomology is a big piece of that.
Mhm.
Um, Other types of testing are available for hormones as well. Yeah, so we look at the big picture.
So, whether you're a man or a woman, we tend to approach health from a place of frustration, and we look for fixes, the magic pill to solve problems like weight gain, fatigue, poor performance. When someone comes to see you and they tell you what their end goal is, how do you help your clients reframe their thinking and sort of focus on the process of optimization, strength, and that kind
Yeah,
of sustainable energy that you need
yeah,
to keep going? Because it's like that, New Year's resolution thing, isn't it? Where it's
yeah,
like everyone signs up for the gym on January 1st, and
yeah.
and on February 1st, there's no one there. Um, a and if you don't, I guess that to continue on that journey is not
Yeah.
easy. And it takes a mind shift change. How do you work on that with your clients?
It's a really good question. I have some advantage, I think, because by the time someone comes to me, they have tried everything else. They
Okay.
literally have. And they're like, I just need an answer, not for today, not for tomorrow, not from 3 months from now. I want an answer so I don't have the food noise, the body dysmorphia, the this noise. They want to know how they can get fit and healthy and well for the long term. So they already know that that's what they want. Um, I think what's really important is helping people understand that small changes will add up over time. Things don't happen overnight. And it's about creating a blueprint, not just for the time they're working with me, but forever.
Yeah.
Um, I used to work with people for 3 months on a 3-month timeline. Many of you will have heard about the transformation programs. And guess what? Everyone will get a transformation in 3 months because everyone can focus for 3 months. You can be disciplined. You can cut out alcohol. You can not eat sugar. You can do all of these things. But then what happens when you have a holiday or work travel
Yeah.
or your kid's birthday or your anniversary? Like, these are the things we need to learn to manage for the long term. So now if I get the opportunity, someone says to me, oh, I can't start till next month. I'm working, I'm traveling. I'm like, great, start today. Let's learn how to navigate that. Let's learn how to get through that. And I think
Within the chaos.
within the chaos,
Yeah.
because guess what?
Yeah.
If you can survive a holiday, I'm not saying you're meant to lose weight on holiday, but you don't come back 3 kilos heavier,
Yeah.
and still have a great time, then you've got that blueprint for the future going forwards.
It's so interesting how it almost takes hitting rock bottom before people are willing to make
Yeah.
the changes. And it's kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to have this discussion, because I feel like in so many instances, whether it's women's health or whatever it is, people wait too long.
Yeah.
And I think that getting the word out there and understanding out there can make a huge difference to people
Yeah.
in their own lives, but also in the people who are sort of in the family or in the support group or the employers or whatever it is. I feel like we wait too long. So I read on your blog about creatine, and I was sort of curious about supplements in general initially, because I've kind of personally tried to adopt this approach that if we're intentional and focused on our choices,
Yeah.
that everything we need is out there. How do you view creatine and other supplements and the importance of them relative to just making better choices every day?
Yeah. I think we are unfortunately in a position where we need supplementation.
Okay.
And that is for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, the soil that our food is grown in, if you eat whole unprocessed food, is nutrient deficient. So the foods that we eat do not have the vitamins and minerals that they did 50 years ago, and definitely not 100 years ago. We live in a world where, in the US, 70% of the food on shelves in supermarkets is ultra processed. So people are not eating whole unprocessed foods as a general rule for the majority of their meals. So if you're not getting those nutrients from your food, you still need those nutrients. So sadly, I do believe in supplementation, and I've seen the difference in people's blood work before and after. I believe strongly in test, don't guess. So,
Okay.
those of you that go onto iHerb, which was me 4 years, so no judgment, and put everything in your basket, and whatever your influencer also has in her basket, that goes in. That's not what you need. You need to be circumspect. You need to choose what your body needs based on blood work if you can. Buy the best quality supplements that you can afford, because the better quality supplements will work. There'll be more bioavailable, and there are a lot of substandard supplements on the market. In terms of what would I recommend as a general rule for people, I've never seen a piece of blood work in Hong Kong where someone has been vitamin D sufficient, i.e. everyone is vitamin D deficient, unless they're supplementing. Nobody. And I've been looking at blood work for nearly 15 years.
Why is that?
It's for a number of reasons. So we make vitamin D through synthesization through our skin and through the retinas in our eyes.
Okay.
So we wear sunscreen, sunblock, sunglasses, so that prevents the synthesization. The darker skin you are, the harder it is for your
So
body.
sunglasses can actually
Sunglasses can
cause
impact.
vitamin D deficiency.
So can sunblock.
Okay.
So can having darker skin. So the darker skin you are, the harder it is for the body to naturally make vitamin D. The layer or the way at which the sun hits the land also impacts how much vitamin D we absorb from the sunlight. So there's lots of different factors, including some people genetically not being able to synthesize it optimally as well.
Okay.
So vitamin D, number one.
Yep.
Number two, omega-3. So we live in a life where we are much more higher on the omega-6 range, so think seed oils, etc., and much lower on the omega-3 range, which is your oily fish and your nuts, your walnuts, etc. Omega-3 and omega-6 should live in a perfect ratio 1-to-1. Most people in the US have a ratio 1-to-25, which is frightening. And guess what? Omega-6 causes inflammation. Omega-3 brings down systemic inflammation. It's good for anyone that has any anxiety or depression. We've seen that higher doses can impact that. And just as a general rule, bring down inflammation. So omega-3, vitamin D, and magnesium would be my third of four.
Okay.
Because magnesium is involved in over 300 bodily functions. And we are using it when we're stressed, when we're tired, when we're exercising. Just we are using it as we're breathing.
Okay.
And then the fourth one will be creatine, which you mentioned at the beginning. So if you don't know what creatine is, it's a naturally occurring compound. So the body makes it out of 3 amino acids. We can also get it as an external supplement. Women make less than men. So we can supplement with it to really optimize our health, because what it does is it helps create energy. We store it in our muscles, 95% in our muscles. So it helps with muscle energy, muscle recovery. It also is used by the brain. So it helps with cognition. And the results and the research and what I've seen in myself and my clients shows it really, really helps, particularly women through perimenopause and menopause, and particularly if you don't sleep well. Yeah, it's an amazing. It's the most widely researched supplement on the market.
So you've got vitamin D, omega-3, creatine, and magnesium.
Yes, those would be the desert island can't live
Those are the
without.
4. And men and women, any age?
Men and women, any age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the older that women get, the less creatine that we make. So I would definitely, if you're not already having it in your daily stack, add it in 5 grams, teaspoon every day.
And where do you buy your supplements in Hong Kong then? What would you advise people who are looking to add these 4 supplements to their daily intake? Where would you go to get them?
Yeah. Well, so iHerb, obviously is a great resource for having variety.
Yeah.
What I would say is if you're using a provider like iHerb, which not only has variety but has competitive pricing, make sure you're looking for the brands that you trust. And for me, I'm really, really particular about that. And this is, I am actually affiliated with Pure Encapsulations, but I use them a lot.
Okay.
Thorn Research, Designs for Health, Clear Labs. Like, these are just some of the brands that just come to my mind right now. Not the California Gold or whatever it is that you see, on iHerb. So be circumspect, spend your money where you can on the ones that matter for you.
Interesting. So I had a question on creatine because it's been a big discussion at home.
Yeah.
Partly because my son is desperate to get onto it.
Great. Yeah.
If I wanted to implement creatine in my family's daily intake, what's the best way to do that? Because I've been thinking about it too, and I'm like, well, what do I buy? What dose do I take?
Yeah.
What should my wife be taking? What should my daughter be taking? What should my son be taking? And how can we make sure we're all sort of doing the right thing?
I think what most of the research shows is anything from 3 to 5 grams of creatine can be safely and effectively used by anyone.
Okay.
Kids, adults alike. Old people could even have higher doses because they need more. What you might see or read about, and particularly some of the health magazines, is people talking about a loading phase, because what we're trying to do is build up your stores in your muscles, right? I don't believe in that. People are taking like 10, 15, 20 grams a day for like a week or 2 weeks to build up the stores fast. I think you just take it every single day, 3 to 5 grams, a teaspoon. You can put it in your water, you can put it in your shake, in your smoothie. If you don't like it, it has a slight bitter taste. If you don't like that, you can take capsules.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so in your book, Happy Hormones, you talk about what we're doing wrong in our diets as far as sort of mental health and acuity are concerned. What does your standard daily diet look like?
Oh, putting me on the spot.
Yeah. And can we all follow it, or is it best specific?
No, remember, we're all an individual.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like the
honest,
honest,
missing then that people should be thinking about. If we looked at it in that way, if everyone
first and foremost protein.
Okay.
First and foremost protein.
So you don't think protein's overplayed as the fad food?
I still think it is underplayed.
Okay.
I honestly do. I think most women that I know, I meet, I work with are sub-serving themselves in terms of the amount of protein they need. It's very common for me to see 50, 60 grams of protein a day that a woman is taking. And in actual fact, most women need to be taking twice that amount. So for me, the most important thing I think about is protein. I think about whole unprocessed foods. I think about every color on the rainbow on my plate. I think about healthy fats, avocados, nuts, seeds. I'm not perfect by any means. So this is like, if you want to do the 80-20 rule, 80% of your diet is from all of these nutritious things. And that 20% is from, your favorite chocolate bar or a glass of wine, if that's what you enjoy. Or, we can't be 100% all the time.
Yep. And protein in the morning, that's a big thing at the moment, is to get your protein intake in early, otherwise you're catching up all day. And I've gone from sort of jam on toast to chicken breast on toast in the morning, just listening to that, I mean,
love it.
little things like that, you kind of I've been making those changes consciously, but never measuring things out.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder because, my daughter will make overnight oats. And I'm like, you need something more than that in the morning.
Yeah.
I know overnight oats does it for me.
So what you could do is you could sneakily say, okay, put in a scoop of protein powder into that.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty good breakfast. You've got some carbs, you might have some, some milk in that, and then you have your scoop of protein, and then you're kind of pretty good for the day. I think protein first thing in the morning is really important for a number of different reasons. When you wake up in the morning, you have been fasting probably for 12 hours. And we can touch on fasting as well. Like, this is just a natural, normal diurnal fast where you stop eating dinner and then you wake up in the morning and you have your breakfast. So the body is low blood sugar. So the first thing that you should have is something that sets you up for a nice balanced blood sugar for the whole day. So people that get up and have a bowl of sugar, which could be cereal, it could be croissant, it could just be overnight oats on its own, you are setting yourself up for a day of blood sugar dysregulation. So I encourage everyone to try and get protein and fats as your first meal of the day. That will help your blood sugar be consistent. To your point, it's really hard to catch up on your overall protein intake if you don't start with a decent amount first thing. So for me, I'm like, how can I get 40 grams of protein in first thing in the morning? And this is what is.
So what does 40 grams look like for you?
So for me, it could be, so this morning,
Yep.
I had oats with a scoop of protein powder, I had a banana, and I had some almond butter, and I had some scrambled eggs. And I know that sounds really, really strange, but that was satisfying, filling. It gave me 40 grams of protein, and it allowed me to train after I'd finished my clients. It could look like scrambled eggs, smoked salmon, and avocado. It could be an egg white omelette with turkey bacon and avocado. Like, the list can go on.
Yeah.
In terms of like hitting like 40 grams exactly, it doesn't need to be exact, but as close as you can get. And then you're winning. They say win breakfast, win the day. Like, you're winning for the whole day. Like, it's in the bag. So, that would be just some tips from me.
Interesting. So you touched on fasting, and I'm curious about your views on fasting and that sort of fasting window between dinner and breakfast.
Yeah.
What do you tend to recommend as optimal?
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes with entertaining and going out, you're having dinner late. But what would you recommend?
So this was the one thing, and if we're sort of talking about intermittent fasting, or there's the normal fasting, which is from dinner till breakfast, and then there's intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding, where people try and push that window longer to do more than 12 hours, closer to 16 of not eating. This was something I used to tell all my clients to do. This was something that I did for years. I wouldn't eat breakfast. I'd go straight to the gym. I would think I was winning because I was training, I was burning calories, and I was going for a run. I hadn't eaten, and then I'd wait till lunch.
So you're working out fast, completely fasted.
Completely. And now we know, because we finally have evidence. Before, all the evidence on intermittent fasting was done on white middle-aged men. Go figure. And we figured it would work for us. Now we have the research to show it does not work for women. And it definitely does not work for women sort of over the age of 35, when hormones are not as consistent as when we're younger. So in answer to your question, I just encourage people to finish their dinner, eat breakfast when they're hungry. I won't let anyone come and train with me if they have not eaten first thing in the morning. And that doesn't have to be scrambled eggs. It can be half a protein shake, just so they've got some kind of fuel in them, and then they can have a proper breakfast afterwards.
Okay.
And we actually only need 15 grams of protein first thing in the morning before a workout to tell the hypothalamus that we are not starving. And therefore we can train, we can perform, and we won't go into that, high cortisol state.
It's so interesting that you brought up the difference, even with something like fasting and working out in the morning, between men and women, because we were talking about this at home, and for me, I don't tend to do it, but when I do have a coffee before working out, I feel like I have the ability to go for longer.
Yeah.
But when my wife has a coffee, she says she's shaking when she's working out sometimes, and she would prefer to work out first and have it afterwards. And then I heard on a podcast that it's completely different for men and women probably shouldn't do it first thing in the morning. And I'm there saying, have a coffee.
It works for me.
You should have a coffee, just do it.
Yeah. With caffeine, it's very independent, very individual for each person. So
Okay.
it's not even just male, female, it's you as a person.
Yeah.
Some people have very high sensitivity to caffeine, and some people can, have a coffee. My mom can have a coffee before bed
Yeah.
and goes to sleep. So it depends on the individual. I think, caffeine is one of the most widely used legal drugs available to us. It does act as a stimulant, and you need to be aware of that. And people's sensitivities to that vary. No problem to have a coffee first thing in the morning, but I think you also need to make sure, particularly if you're sensitive to it, that you have food as well, particularly if
Okay.
you're then going in to train.
Interesting.
And, if you're not hungry, what some people do is a coffee with some collagen powder scooped in. Maybe, that will give you a little bit of protein plus the caffeine, and then you can have a proper meal after your workout.
Okay. So going on to sort of business, and as a business owner with a leadership team made up entirely of remarkable women aged between 30 and 50. I'm a married man. I've got a wonderful wife and a daughter who's going to turn 50 next month, and a daughter who's 18.
Yeah.
What do I need to know and be aware of to be the best husband, father, leader that I can be? And
Yeah.
I want to put a little bit of context behind this, because I got far more interested and aware of the topic. One, from listening to podcasts, but actually watching my wife go through menopause,
Yep.
and not having a clue what was going on. And I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I'm not sure that she put the symptoms all down to menopause until she
Yeah.
saw a doctor and started making some changes in her own life. And just seeing the result of that really got me curious. Because I feel like I should have been more aware.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact in and of itself that you're saying that puts you at the forefront of being very aware. Most people, and sadly, this is men and women alike, have no idea what the hormonal changes will be in the future. Like, I had no idea until one day I was in a meeting and I couldn't remember my manager's name, who was sat next to me, who I'd worked with for 8 years. Like, these things can creep up on you, and we just haven't been talking about it. We have been now in the last 4 or 5 years, thank goodness. But historically, people just have not talked about the menopause. So in answer to your question, what can you do as a father and as a leader? It starts with knowledge. It starts with education. It starts with understanding the different phases that women go through in their life. And that starts, as a father of a daughter, through menstruation. And then as she progresses, then there's a fertility period that women go through. And then there's a post-menopause, a post-pregnancy phase. Then there's a peri-menopause. Then there's a menopause. I mean, we really got the whole gamut when it came to, hormonal fluctuations. So men and women alike, understanding what's happening to your body is the first and foremost starting point. And then really just being empathetic to what that means, being supportive, whether it be at home or whether it be in the workplace. And we're just starting to see that education trickle through and transcend into home life and into the workplace. But it's still slow because education is still slow.
It's a challenging discussion to have, and I'd love to know what you think about how a man could start that conversation with a partner or with someone who's working for him in a way that doesn't make a woman feel singled out or vulnerable. I think once you start the conversation, it gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
But actually, as with any difficult conversation, once
Yep.
you start it, it gets easier. But it's a tough discussion to start sometimes.
It really is. I mean, anyone that has asked their wife, "Is it your period, dear?"
Yeah.
will know what that's like. And it's, no one wants to be put on the spot. And sometimes that person might not even believe or understand or realize that that's kind of where they are. I think starting with you as a husband and a partner and a father, like, the knowledge, as we mentioned, but also saying, "I'm here if you need me. What can I do to support you?" Making the home life as supportive for your partner as possible, like making sure you all sleep well and go to bed at a decent time, making sure you're all eating well, like making the home life supportive to hormonal change. And I think in the workplace, creating a work structure that supports your female staff is integral. And, in larger organizations, I'd love to see everyone have a women's health policy, maybe even in smaller organizations as well. And it doesn't just have to single out menopause, for example. It can cover all of those phases. What if they're on fertility treatment? What if it's post-pregnancy? What if it's perimenopause, postmenopause? But starting the conversation, I think you have to let that person be receptive to it, and maybe just let them know that you're there.
It's so if there's a male leader listening to this and he wants to advocate for better policies, what's the first email he should send to HR?
What is our females' health policy, and can I see it? Because that's the starting point. Like, if they have one, hallelujah, that is a starting point. I can guarantee probably 8 out of 10 organizations will not. And then once you've established that there is something or there is not something, then you either refine it, update it, or you put one in place.
And what are the 1 to 2 concrete policies you'd urge every employer to put into place?
For menopause?
I think,
For anything?
yeah.
I
think there's so much happening, right?
There is
From
so
what
much
you've just sort of explained, there's so much happening.
There's over 66 symptoms now, not just 36, and we're counting. I think a few things that could be done. I think flexible working arrangements can be really, really helpful.
Okay.
If you're a woman who is having hot flashes in meetings and your brow is dripping and you're trying to have a conversation with somebody senior or your colleagues or your team, that's embarrassing. So allowing for flexible working solutions is helpful. Providing fans, or even having, like, some organizations now have a cool room with a fridge full of cold drinks, just being supportive about it. Allowing for resources. So resources where people can have either online education or access to, therapies maybe. And by therapies, I mean things like cognitive behavioral therapy can be very helpful for menopause, alternative Chinese remedies, as well as your HRT. So there's a lot we could be doing.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned how for you, and I've seen this as well, symptoms snuck up on you. You couldn't remember your boss's name.
Correct.
Um,
I thought I had Alzheimer's. I was completely convinced. Dr. Google, yes, Alzheimer's. It didn't come up with perimenopause.
and I've heard some of the same things at home.
Yeah.
So I can't relate, but I can say I've heard some of the same things. What do women need to know? Because I from what you've said and from what I've seen, if my daughter's in her 30s, what does she need to know about what's coming, or what potentially is coming, and what to be aware of?
Yeah.
So she can deal with it earlier.
Yeah. Get ahead, 100%.
Yeah, and what does that look like? What does she need to be looking out for? Is it medical? Is it symptoms? Is it a combination? Is it getting tested?
Testing, difficult to pinpoint if someone's in perimenopause. Remember, the blood work is deceiving.
Yeah.
You as a woman, you know your body better than anyone else. You know what your menstrual cycle's like. You know what you're like pre-period, post-period, mid-period, ovulation. Like, you know yourself. So when things seem off and they feel off, you are the best person to know. If you go to your doctor and you say something is not right, I don't feel right, my periods aren't right, like my energy is not right, my mood is not right, you have to trust yourself. And if you get dismissed, you have to push for it. Because, if you're in your 30s, it might not be perimenopause, but it could be any number of other hormonal issues. So do not be dismissed. Be your own detective. Track your cycle, track everything from discharge to mood to sleep to energy, so that if you do find a doctor that will listen to you, you've got all the information to give to them. The other thing I would say is, in terms of getting ahead early, if I truly believe if I'd taken control of my health in my 30s rather than in my early 30s rather than my late 30s, it would have 100% helped my perimenopause, menopause symptoms. So
taking control, sleeping,
yes,
working
the
out,
foundations, the basics, not getting yourself in a point where you are burning yourself out, where you think you can do everything, run the world because you're in your 30s and you've got energy and you can go to Lan Kwai Fong and still go to the office, and you just can't. And so manage your blood sugar, manage your sleep, manage your stress levels, nutrition. Like, food is information. Like, everything you put in your body is giving your body information. our cells are made up of like a phospholipid membrane, so fat cells, fat surrounding. So if you eat shitty oils, that's what your cells will become made of, you know? So yeah, nutrition is a really big one.
For you personally, do you use technology? I saw you took your Apple Watch off because you didn't want it to beep in the middle of this discussion. But do you use technology or not? Because I'm seeing so much now
Yes.
with Apple, with Whoop,
Yeah.
with Aura,
Yeah.
and you have your Aura on,
Yeah.
and
I'm a big fan.
I personally, for me, my
Yeah.
habits have changed significantly since I got
Yeah.
my Whoop,
Yeah.
and I've got data in front of me. So I'm just curious how you view technology.
I 100% use technology, but you have to be mindful that it doesn't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
I think, for example, if I go out and I have a late night and I have a glass of wine, I am not going to wear my Aura ring that night because I know the next morning it's going to say, Beth, you slept really badly. And I'm like, yes, I know. I had a glass of wine and went to bed at 1 a.m. So, use it in a way that supports whatever your goals are. I use it to ensure that my HRV, which is my heart rate variability, which is my recovery rate, is good. And if I see that dipping, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what was my sleep like this week? Like, I use it to keep myself in check,
Yeah.
but to not become obsessed. So that, I think, is my key takeaway. I think if you're a serious athlete, someone that does competitive sports, you can use it for that next level, or even as an amateur like myself, I can use it, or you can use it, but just don't let it consume you, I think.
Okay. Have we covered, in your opinion, what women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s need to be aware of? Is there anything in there that we've missed that you think, as people are sort of going through the decades?
I don't know. What do you audience think? Anything that we've missed? I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we've covered the foundations. We've covered the basics. Yeah.
And in terms of symptoms, I wrote a few things down after speaking to my wife, right? So brain fog,
Yeah.
difficulty sleeping,
Yep.
lethargy, anxiety, impatience, forgetfulness. Any other things that sort of top of mind for you in terms of
Yeah.
the top symptoms that people should be sort of aware
Yeah.
of?
So the things like the hot flashes.
Yep.
So the inability to control your temperature is very disconcerting for women for many reasons. A, it can be embarrassing. B, predominantly they happen at night, and so that impacts your sleep, and sleep really is your superpower. So if you are not sleeping, and I've worked with women that get up and have to change the sheets once, twice, 3 times in the night because they're drenched through. Imagine that kind of impact that has on your long-term health, your immediate health, your next day. So I think, those vasodilatory symptoms are very high on the list. Skin. People get lots of itching of skin, dry eyes, dryness, dry vaginas. Why have we not mentioned that, Rasheed? Should be number 1 up there for many women. And that's important, right?
Yeah.
Because our intimacy, our sexual health is hugely important. It's as important as our day-to-day, everyday health. And, whether you're with a partner or not with a partner, you still need to be intimate. And when that gets impacted, it impacts your confidence and your relationship. So, there really isn't an area of your life that menopause cannot impact. So everything that we can do to prevent it, improve it, mitigate it, survive it is helpful.
It's cruel that women in their professional primes, and you've got so many more women in the workforce at all levels.
Yeah.
Have to go through these debilitating symptoms that impact performance.
Yeah.
Is this something that your clients come to you and talk to you about? And what advice do you give them if this is happening to them?
I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when I first started working with women in this kind of age demographic, I would frequently hear, I don't want to just raise another issue at work. And, even women who are close friends of mine would say, this is just going to become another problem that men can say we're making excuses for. Well, guess what? It is another problem we're making excuses for, because guess what? It's something else we're having to deal with. I think the way that is turning around is more and more people are talking about menopause, more and more people are understanding it. We've got research, we've got evidence, we've got celebrities, we've got royalty talking about the impact on a woman's body. But But it's still a challenge. It's still something that people can say, oh, off she goes again. She says she's got hot flashes. And I think we can only mitigate that with continuing to educate, continuing to have people like you and talking publicly and at home and in the workplace about supporting women in this phase.
I'm sure my wife wishes that we'd had this discussion 5 years ago.
Amy, would you? She's nodding. But right. And so that's the perfect point, is like often we don't know ourselves. So back to be your own health detective for yourself. And that's probably a great starting point.
And do you feel there's still a stigma? Because I'm hearing more around me.
Yeah.
This morning coming in, I was saying to Amy, we were talking about this discussion. I was saying to her that I'm really curious about the cultural stereotypes as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel in Western culture it's spoken about much more openly. And I don't know if there is as much discussion going on in other cultures. And I also don't, and I'm curious, I don't know if you know, Beth, but does genetics play a role here?
Yeah. And what we have seen in the research is, depending on your ethnicity, it can determine the types of symptoms that you have. And so we are very, very different. Not every woman experiences menopause the same, but guess what? 100% of 50% of the population will. Every single woman in this room will go through menopause, and that's something we can't avoid. We will do it differently. We'll manage it better. I think the conversations are changing. People are starting to talk about it more. We've got people like Oprah Winfrey talking about it left, right, and center, which makes a massive difference. You've seen her audience.
Yeah. But then you've got people like Stephen Bartlett as well. And we talked about this when we first met, that he had Stacey Sims on.
Yes.
And that's someone that you've studied extensively.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I was like, he's beaten me to it, but I've already set up a meeting with Beth, and he's talking about it before me.
I'm not Stacey Sims, but I'll take that.
But you said to me that you'd done some of her courses, right?
I've done all of them.
You've done all her courses. Okay.
She's amazing. If you're not following her, Dr. Stacey Sims, she's one of the leading female researchers for female physiology and nutrition and hormonal health. She's amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's great that the discussion is out there. A last question sort of before we go into Q&A. Today, more than ever, alcohol's getting a really bad rap, right? And as much as I love a drink, I've seen the impact of a drink or two on my performance. I see it on my Whoop when I wake up in the morning. Maybe I should do what you do and take it off, like take your Oura ring off. You've completed your WSET Level 2 wine certification. So what's your approach to alcohol?
Gosh, I love wine. Like I mean, it's for me, it's a true privilege and pleasure. I like really nice wine, not baby sham like Amy and I were talking about that we used to have in our UK days, but nice wine. But my body's changed, and therefore my ability to process it has changed. So now I know I am not able to drink, which is probably a good thing, how I did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So yeah, I drink way less than I used to. I will drink earlier in the evening and stop drinking later in the evening. I'm a big believer in a brunch is a good way to have a few drinks. You've got the afternoon, so work it off. If I'm drinking in the evening, I really can only tolerate a couple of glasses of wine now. I have a dog, so I'll make sure I walk him before I go to bed, brings the blood sugar down, helps the metabolism of the alcohol, lots of water. But I love it, but it doesn't love me.
Glass of water.
Yes.
Yeah. And does organic make a difference?
Organic can be helpful for people that get a histamine response. So people who are sort of very sensitive to some of the sulfites in wine. I don't think it helps you. It helps with the sort of breaking down of the alcohol per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. And I asked because actually we've switched to organic wine at home.
And has that made a difference?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It really has. And so there's one brand, and that's the only brand we buy at home now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Give me the brand later.
Absolutely. But thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for joining us. It's great to have you all here, and we've got some drinks outside, non-alcoholic, so everyone can sleep tonight. So enjoy a cross-sip cocktail, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.